Happy Sunday, and welcome to another episode of Crypto with English. This is a Sunday special, and this is actually part two, or part due, rather, of our original recording. But that's okay, because now we even have more ground to cover. So, in this chaotic world and uncertain times, really the answer to many of life's questions is love. And some would say the highest expression of love is to create something special through some action. So I'd like to warmly welcome today's guest. He is a highly accomplished, highly creative, and innovative tech entrepreneur. I'd love to welcome Anders Johnsson, the CEO of Love.io. In this episode, we're going to unpack all the nuances behind his platform and his cryptocurrency and the details of love. And how do you send love in this new DeFi Web3 type world? His platform comes with micro tipping and streaming, NFT creation, online shopping, charity donation tools, and so on and so forth. Considering the fact that love is in many ways lacking in today's world, perhaps it is very appropriate that we have the entrepreneur behind love, especially in cryptocurrency. So Anders, thank you very much for coming on today.
Thank you, Adam, for having me on a Sunday morning. I can start, to maybe do a small introduction of myself.
Sure.
So I'm from Sweden, grew up in Sweden, and went to university in Sweden, have lived and worked abroad though for the past 20 years over. I lived in China for many years as well.
During which years did you live in China, by the way?
Yeah,
I know this is going to go into our...
Yeah, in the late 90s and early 2000.
So you really saw that country come to life.
Yeah.
Technologically and otherwise.
Yeah, so I came there as a student. So I was business and economic, went to university and studied business and economics. But then I did 1 year just full-time Chinese language. I was thinking back then as a student that I had to get an edge, my
Right.
grades was not like the top grades, so I was thinking, okay, I need to diversify to get something more.
So you're fluent in Mandarin then?
Yeah, I am Mandarin.
Wow. I actually took a semester of Chinese in college, and just the first 45 days was actually learning the tones of the language, which was actually quite a process in of itself. So, wow, that is impressive.
好，我们可以说汉语吧？
Wow.
你会吗？
Now that is legit.
If you studied, yeah.
Right.
So I went there. So I took it really seriously. So I went to China, and then I studied another year in Beijing Language and Culture University. So I was thinking that I had to really live in the country and so on. I was still business and economics and entrepreneurship was my main focus, and I was involved in several startups, both in Sweden and also in China. One of the most successful startups that I co-founded was a company called Diacrete, a company in digital floor plans and VR for the real estate and property industry. I was very involved in the beginning, employed the first 30 staff and set up the operations in Beijing. The company grew very fast, up to 400 employees and international offices and so on. And then News Corp, who owns Fox in the United States, they bought the company later on. I did an exit in 2010. So they are big in these areas. So they own all these property portals in around the world. In the United States, I think they have realestate.com, and in Australia it's realestate.com.au and so on. So it was a good match for them later on. I came into cryptocurrency or Bitcoin quite early. So I discovered already Bitcoin 2010.
Remind you, everybody, this makes Anders a genuine veteran in this space, almost like the Merlin to King Arthur. Especially getting in so early.
It worked very well because at that time, like I had lived in China for over 10 years, moved back to Sweden, and I had some money that I didn't want to give away to the Swedish tax authorities. And then I heard about these, like the internet money, that had emerged that no one could trace. Back then, you were thinking, oh, what kind of money is this, So I found the Satoshi white paper, and I started to study it and try to figure out how to buy it, because back then I didn't do any mining or anything. And there was one guy in actually New York, where you live, Adam, that was selling Bitcoin. So you were like sending a wire to him, and then you got, like Bitcoin back.
Wow. So it almost seemed a little shady, almost like a little sense of
danger.
Yeah,
it was very shady, and and you didn't have like the price too was very hard, because it was like jumping a few cents up and down, it was very hard. So I waited, I think until, I did wait until 2011 to actually go in and buy. And then I also had a friend that had started to mining and so on. So basically it was more easy for me to buy and so on. And that was the time when WikiLeaks, in the middle of 2011, they started to accept Bitcoin, and Bitcoin went over $1 for the first time. And then it went up to like $28 in that period. It was started to really you started to see that there were actually use cases in Bitcoin. In the beginning, no one really knew what the use cases was,
Sure.
It was hard to find it, but when WikiLeaks, they got denied Visa and MasterCard, that meant that there were a lot of people, they still wanted to send, like support and so on to WikiLeaks. So that meant that it grew with people wanted to have Bitcoin, and since Bitcoin have a limited supply, that means that the Bitcoin price goes up in value.
Right. So quick question. Sorry to interrupt, but at the time, did any of your colleagues, business associates, and friends know you were buying Bitcoin? And
so back then I was living on an island in the Swedish archipelago, and then I was also doing other, like startups and businesses as well, and so on. And I think that especially one of my close business friends from Australia that came a lot to the island in Sweden, he was very early into Bitcoin as well. And then you had, because it was, the community is so much bigger today.
Right.
Back then it was a little also much harder, because what happened the next coming years, then also dealing in Bitcoin became, almost like the beginning of the internet age. If you had a web page, then you were supposed to be doing something illegal,
Right.
That was like in the beginning of the internet age. People, if you had a website, then people asked you, "Oh, why do you have a website? Why don't you have like a physical store?"
Sure. Yeah.
And it was a little that you didn't go out too much, that you were like having Bitcoin or did things in that space, especially the later years, like 2011 to 2013. Then it was Silk Road that
Right.
that started to emerge in the United States. And then we also saw like a big price jump, because Silk Road meant that you had another like 100,000, 200,000 mostly youngsters in the United States that wanted to buy, like pod or weave or
Right.
like online. Then
Various illicit purposes. Yeah.
so then another utility came up with Silk Road, and the price jumped up, like back, it went up to like 1,300 for one Bitcoin, and so on.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so it's always have been that, and that is what we later have started to understand, that the real value in a cryptocurrency, if we take away these like the speculation value that we can see a lot today, if Elon tweets about a coin, then
like Dogecoin or something.
Yeah, Dogecoin, it jumps up in value, and so that's like something that drives a price. But the real thing that drives a price in cryptocurrency is Metcalfe's law.
Yes, and please go into that, Metcalfe's law.
Yeah, so Metcalfe's law is very interesting. Yeah, so that was also something that came up in academics, how to value, for example, a telecom network, and to make that simple is that if you sell like telecom subscriptions, and if you have like a small telecom network that maybe just is like a few hundred people that you can call each other in that network, then it's very hard to sell in the utility and a high subscription fee to join that network, because you can only basically call a few hundred people,
Right.
But if you have a network that is much bigger, that have like 100 million people, then the utility to be part of that network is much bigger. So then you can demand like a higher subscription fee to join that telecom network. Sure. And that is very similar how like cryptocurrency works, because cryptocurrency, we have a limited supply of the cryptocurrency. And if the network increases, that more people comes into the network, then the price goes up, because we have a limited supply of the coin or the token in the network.
Right.
So that's why Metcalfe's law is so important. And then, as I said, there can be also a lot of other things that drives the price in like a cryptocurrency or an NFT and so on. But that can also be a lot of like speculation, right, which means that the price goes up very fast during like bull runs and so on. But then it also drops very heavy, when we are in the bear market, then it goes down,
Right.
But the cryptocurrencies with a utility and a network growth, they are more valuable and so on. So that is also how we started to come in to the concept of love.
Speaking of which, how are you able to acquire that domain name? That is
impressive. So of course it was not cheap, and
I can imagine.
But it's as we see, it's like so important that we believe that we have like the perfect ticker in love, and also the perfect domain name, as you say, in love.io, and we also have application domain name in lovify.com that is also very valuable for us.
By the way, viewers, the ticker name is Love, literally LOVE. Check them out.
So, so that is, and it's also, like when you will start to see, like Love in the charts, and so on. That is something you will immediately see when you see like a Bitcoin, Ethereum, on Doge, and then you have Love, So, so it's like a very strong marketing way as well. But the most beautiful thing with Love, if we see the cryptocurrency Love that we formed, it was since I and many in the team and so on, we have been involved a lot in the Bitcoin community and so on. We saw in 2017 we had like a big fork and a big divide in the Bitcoin community, where we had, the Bitcoin Core side.
Right. I think Bitcoin Cash was one of the forks around that time. Yeah.
There was two like really strong camps. It was the BTC, as we know Bitcoin today, and then we had another camp that fork that was Bitcoin Cash, and there was two different philosophies in what Bitcoin was supposed to be, and Bitcoin BTC, Bitcoin Core, they wanted it to be as a store of value, the internet gold and so on, as we see. It has developed to, with like $1 trillion in market cap and so on. So that they have found their place. The Bitcoin Cash camp, that was basically the same size as the Bitcoin Core camp back in 2017 when the fork happened. And it was even one day where Bitcoin Cash was higher in price than the BTC.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
And the big difference in philosophy was that Bitcoin Cash, they wanted to make like a cryptocurrency that was used for like mainstream, that was like a digital cash. That is also mentioned in Satoshi's original white paper. And so that became, two different ways. And I was at that time involved, and still is, in a think tank called 24/7 Block Labs. And we were like following this very carefully, because the goal have been, since the beginning, is to find, a cryptocurrency that can be used for mainstream micro tipping, be a currency that is like really, really useful.
Something and very practical and everyday that you can.
Yeah, that you can use and so on.
Yeah.
So we looked at that, and then Bitcoin Cash, they got what they wanted. They changed in the protocol, and so Bitcoin Cash became like quicker to send. Didn't have so slow confirmation times, and it became cheaper to send, and so on. But there was one thing that was missing that really didn't take off. And what we saw in who was analyzing this, why Bitcoin Cash didn't succeed, was that they were missing something that the social networks have been very, very good at. And that is a concept called blitzscaling.
That was going to be my follow-up question. Yeah. Talk about that.
So blitzscaling is really interesting too. So that is a concept that the LinkedIn founders, Chris Yee and Reid Hoffman, they even wrote a book that you should read if you have not read it. That is really interesting, and that is how the big social networks and the giants that we have today, how they could succeed while so many companies and so on in the dot-com era failed. And all of them had something in the concept, in the name, in the platform, something that could scale basically by itself, that you didn't need to like acquire customers, that was every startup did in the dot-com. You always talked about the customer acquisition cost, and then you had a time and so on, how to grow your network. And after .com, and we got like the bandwidth problem solved, that now we could actually like build quick networks and so on. We didn't have that problem that was in the 90s with the bandwidth.
Oh, like with dial-up and then 56K and eventually DSL. That was a big deal. I remember that.
Yeah, so that was horrible. But then, so the blitzscaling, and the first really good example of blitzscaling is Facebook, how they outcompeted MySpace. So what they did was basically to use friend requests. So they didn't sell in like Facebook as a platform or the name or anything. What happened was like you got a friend request from someone you knew. It could be like a close friend, it could be like a childhood friend or a co-worker or a family member. You received a friend request, and then you saw like, oh, I know that person and he wants to be friends, and that is like a positive feeling that someone wants to be friends with you, and then you accept. And then after that, you have to sign up to like Facebook, upload your photo.
I remember that. It had been
put in your
2004,
profile,
Yeah.
And so Mark Zuckerberg, he could basically just sit back and just like watch Facebook outcompete MySpace in.
How did MySpace fail? That's what I'm wondering. Where do you think they dropped the ball? Where do you think they went wrong?
Yeah, so it was the blitzscaling part. So MySpace didn't have that like the blitz, and if you remember, like Facebook was actually an underdog. Like MySpace was so much bigger than
back then. Yeah, it sure was
than Facebook. So what they did was basically just use friend requests. And then the network could grow by itself, and the same counts for like PayPal. They started out with like the .com thinking to acquire users and so on. So they even had like Times Square advertisements, spending millions of dollars trying to acquire users, do brand marketing, and so on. And they were like really close to bankruptcy. And then Peter Thiel, the co-founder of PayPal, he started to say that, oh, we must try something different. And then he heard about blitzscaling as well. So how they implemented blitzscaling was that you use like email to send funds, so that people inside the PayPal network, they could start to send funds to people outside. So they received like an email from a person or a company they knew saying that you have received like $15 from that person or that company. Do you accept? Yes, I accept, because I know that it's not scam, it's someone I know. And then you then you have to register. Then you come into the network. You have to register your profile to be able to get your money and so on. And so all of the companies, LinkedIn, of course, themselves. So that was also, LinkedIn didn't sell in like the name LinkedIn, or this is like the biggest recruitment site in the world. They didn't sell in anything of this to get people to join, The only thing that got people to join was that you got the request, and then you a connect request, and then you see, oh, well, that's a person, he's in my industry, he's good to know. Okay,
let me just go and set up my own account and my own profile and see where this goes. Yeah.
So then you get like a network just like increasing. So when you take that concept into cryptocurrency, and back to what we talked about earlier, that the core value in a cryptocurrency is the network and how to grow the network,
Right.
And so we were already back then, like in 2018, and looked like, okay, what is the only name that you can have on a cryptocurrency that can actually give that positive feeling when you receive it through an email or an SMS, and so on, that
Right.
you automatically accept it, And that is the ticker love, like if you receive love, monetary money, from someone, that, oh, I receive love, of course, how do I accept that, and it's really interesting, because I think it's Mark Cuban. He once said, like cryptocurrency will never get mainstream adoption until you get your grandmother to accept it.
Right.
And in my view, that if her grandson or granddaughter send her $10 in Bitcoin, she will have a negative feeling, and she will say, Bitcoin is that like the drug money or the scam money?
The usual assumptions, right?
Yeah. But if she receives like $10 in love from her granddaughter or grandson, she will have a positive feeling, oh, what's this? I have received love from my grandson. He hardly calls me, but now he sent me love. How do I download this? So you have that to send like a monetary amount with love, the ticker, and so on. We believe that we have that like the positive thing. And then you can also increase like the utility functions, and we are like using these wording today, even without like the cryptocurrency. Like you as a streamer, you want to have love from your followers, and so
send
on.
Some love.
Yeah,
send me some love.
So this is like used in our everyday language, already today. And so we were thinking already back then that this is perfect. We have like the perfect ticker, the perfect domain to do this, and to actually have something that can blitzscale, probably the only domain in cryptocurrency, and the ticker that can actually blitzscale too. How we see it is that we will have, like in a year, we will have teenage girls sending love to each other, like $1, like you can, it's so much, and also using the strength with cryptocurrency that you also have, like a censorship resistance in cryptocurrency. And we strongly believe, like love and support is nothing that someone should be, like banned from, or
well said.
Or shouldn't be high commissions done, like a centralized platform that force you to use them, and they take like 30% of the love that you receive,
Right.
So,
I have a question about blitzscaling.
Yeah.
When it comes to, let's say, success stories, successful use cases, like in the case of Facebook, Google, in those cases, it seems like it has a very simple, straightforward name that is also very intuitive, and it kind of invokes an emotion, so to say.
Yeah.
So if you're going to Facebook somebody, that makes sense. People say, oh, instead of saying, let's go research this, let's go Google this, so to say. So it also seems to subsequently become part of language.
Yeah.
What problems do cryptocurrencies face when it comes to blitzscaling? Because as far as I can see, you got the best name in the game right here.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have been really putting in a lot of like brain power in, especially when we've been, like in like the Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency for so many years. And the question that we always have asked ourselves is like, how could the social platforms build, like 1 billion users in like 1.5 years? know, and then we have cryptocurrency that have not gained these like the mainstream adoption and so on.
Right.
So we see those things is like really important, that and love, you cannot have like a stronger ticker and a brand name than love
Absolutely.
when it
And
comes
by
to
the
like
way,
sending.
right, and back to the Mark Cuban anecdote, this is going to be the type of blitzscaling type crypto brand and company that is going to get your grandmother to start using this. She wants to send love to her grandchildren, and likewise, she would like to receive love from family members.
So we have that, but then of course there is so many more things that we have see like the potential of solving using love and blockchain, and now when we go into Web3, which is like the Internet of Value exchange, you know.
Right.
And one of the main things, of course, there have been like a lot of technical questions and why we didn't launch like love already like 2018 and 2019.
Right.
We didn't want to launch love and have it like our own blockchain, you know, or be dependent on centralized exchanges, because that is also like a main problem that have been is that cryptocurrencies have been easily manipulated by price, you know, and so on. So we hesitated to launch it because we were thinking to launch like love cryptocurrency. Back then, we can't have it that it becomes like manipulated, you know, like love should not be manipulated.
Right.
So it always
should be
genuine,
pure.
you know, so it doesn't have these like 80% and just like going down and so on in trading. So we were very happy when Uniswap was launched on Ethereum.
Right.
Because that meant that we have like a decentralized exchange, and the decentralized exchange is also much harder to manipulate like the trading and so on, because it's set up with like pairs and it goes like automatically and so on. So you don't have the same problem there.
Absolutely.
Plus that on a decentralized exchange, all the users, they keep their private keys, and that means that you don't have the problem that you are giving up your private keys to like a centralized exchange, you know, and so on. And the success with Uniswap that became, you know, like even bigger than Binance in turnover and in trades shows that is, you know, also like the future. Like the centralized exchanges, they have their place and they work as a good legal regulatory on and off ramp, you know, and so on. So that is, of course, and Coinbase and so on as well. But if we see like a peer-to-peer cryptocurrency, that is, and also to prevent these like manipulation in the trades and so on, then the DEX is decentralized exchanges. So we were very happy with that, but with the popularity of Uniswap, that means also the gas fees increased massively.
Naturally, yes.
And that is became like hard to launch love back then, because then we saw like if you are going to use this for micro tipping, you can't have like sending $1 and then it will cost you like $5-10 in gas fees. You know?
Right.
So then last year it is a new fork that of Ethereum that is like the first complete hard fork of Ethereum, if we don't regard like Ethereum Classic.
Right, it's almost like a best kept secret.
As
far as what you ended up using.
I would say that it is one of crypto's best kept secrets. It have been like a massive capital raise over billions of dollars raised in a very short period of time, and even have more devs, like core devs, working on this fork than Ethereum and Vitalik has himself,
Right.
on Ethereum. So it's basically only 5 core devs on Ethereum.
Right.
While this new fork that is called PulseChain have even more devs and so on, and we saw that this technology that you're actually taking the Ethereum that have been working very good since 2015, or even if there have been a lot of upgrades and so on. That means that we have like the most proven technology, stress tests and so on that have happened. It's not like a new blockchain that is set up, and
Right.
so on, that can have, like
this
downtime.
one has more of a proven history, to say the least.
Yeah, it
right?
has, like even if PulseChain is like a new name, it is like Solidity and the whole Ethereum ecosystem. So that means, and the upgrades that is done is to go from proof of work to proof of stake, which Vitalik have tried to do with Ethereum, but with this new fork that will happen directly, and then the block times will be like 3-second block times compared to 12 seconds that
right.
Ethereum
12 15
has
seconds,
today, and a lot of other things. So that means that every transaction on PulseChain will cost like less than a penny, and it will be almost like instant transactions, and plus that we have everything that have been like proven and stress tests on Ethereum, like the Uniswap will be called PulseX on the PulseChain. Everything is forked over, like all the ERC20 tokens, all NFTs will be duplicated into PulseChain as well. So this gives, like NFT artists, and content creators, it gives them so much new opportunity.
Right.
Solving the problems quite similar what we saw back in the .com, where we had like the bandwidth problem, that it was hard for applications and so on to actually work. But then when that was solved in the early 2000s, that we saw that real utility and use cases could come up. So we decided to launch Love on PulseChain. It is of course also, since this is a fork, Love will exist on both Ethereum and also on PulseChain.
So Love is everywhere, pretty much.
Yeah, so it will be everywhere, and then but on PulseChain that means that we can have like micro tipping. So in a few months' time, you can have together with your name, on your stream, you can have like a Love QR code and with your wallet address. And then if you have a fan or follower that, I really want to support Adam today with a cup of coffee, and someone can send you like immediately like $2, with no commission or anything. So it's perfect. It works in the micro tipping perfectly. The perfect product market fit for micro tipping. It will be like a peer-to-peer censorship resistant cryptocurrency, and then it's also open up other things, solving huge problems for like the creator artist economy and so on. Since Love exists on the blockchain, that means that love and support is never forgotten. Like
I like that
today, it's very easy that love and support is forgotten.
Sure.
And that also creates problems that when, for example, if you support like a young creator or an artist in the early days, and then maybe when he become or her she become rich and famous, maybe that support is forgotten, and
Right.
I supported that artist in the early days, and now
and now we have the blockchain and the ledger that shows all the love.
Yeah,
so
that creates, like
history of
one
love.
fantastic thing that we have got, like so many artists and content creators that wants to join love.io now, because what you can basically do is that if you are like an artist, you can say that, okay, here is my wallet address that you can send me love if you support and love what I do. And then the artist can say that, and by the way, if I succeed and you believe in me, then for the 100 most supportive wallet addresses, I will create NFTs that have special rights and so on included in the NFTs. So that means that the follower says, oh, I want to support. And then maybe if he makes it or she makes it to become rich and famous, then it's maybe my wallet address can be valuable, because that could include like rights to attend like special parties or functions or access to early editions, and so on. So that creates a value in that supportive wallet address. So that creates an ecosystem that actually the artist can get paid while creating.
So this is the love ecosystem. I love it.
Yeah, so it's amazing. If you take like one example, like people,
the famous NFT artist.
Yeah, NFT artist. He did like every days, which is basically one drawing every day for 5,000 days, and he got a lot of followers and fans. They were following him, and they were sending, like love hearts, and likes on his drawings and so on. But it was very hard for him. Like for 5,000 days, he didn't receive hardly any monetary support from his fans and followers. He could do that because he had another job in a creative agency somewhere, but he didn't receive like any monetary support, And then, of course, since he is so talented, he later sold these 5,000 drawings in one big NFT, and that's called Everydays, and it was sold for $69 million. But if he would utilize love that many artists will do in the future, he could basically have his love wallet address, and then he should say, oh, you like what I do? Then you can also support me with some monetary love here on to my love wallet, and then I recognize everyone that is sending me love, and then I will do like NFTs of these wallets too, So that means that you get an incentive for the supporters to actually also financially support the artist. So the artist, he actually gets paid while creating. Plus that you're also building up a value that this wallet address includes then like special editions, access, and so on. And since blockchain never forgets, that means that love and support will always be registered on the blockchain.
Love is forever.
Yeah, so this is something amazing and then we are really talking, Web3, and an application that can actually be, a unicorn in that space. So that we are extremely excited about, and love cryptocurrency have so many use cases. We have like different teams working on different applications that love can be worked be part of. Both inside Lovify Inc. And also we have like new startups, new networks that wants to include love in that too, and which is fantastic. The one platform, and that is also using blitzscaling to get adoption, and it's quite interesting because we set up a marketplace, and then we took in, I think, around like 40,000 different perfumes, brands, and so on.
Wow.
And then we integrated a love cashback system that basically, if you buy
love
a perfume,
rewards, essentially,
you can get like cashback, small percentage, in
right.
love rewards, And what happened was that when we launched this test marketplace at lovify.com, a lot of these perfumes, they got automatically listed in Google.
Excellent.
And then when the people, girls and boys, they search for their favorite perfume, then they say, okay, here is someone selling it. It's called lovify.com, and I go in there and buy it, So then they buy it, and then they say, oh, I want to, how do I get my cash back? It says in love. Then you get automatically adoption, because that means to get your cash back, you have to download your wallet,
right.
And then you get your cash back. And every cash back that is giving, that means a buy order. So even if we have not launched,
very nice.
Yeah, we have not launched Love yet, so it's still a couple of months. It exists on Ethereum, but now it's more like manually they get like Love rewards, and then we manually.
Well, as they say, love takes time too, so
yeah.
It's going to be worth the wait.
So, but it's like already now we get like just sitting back, just like Mark Zuckerberg did, like just watching when we get, like people into the love ecosystem.
Right.
So it works, and then we will of course also push, like marketplace, like Lovify products, and so on, and that will be even more blitzscaling and more adoption, that people will download the Love wallet and so on. We also have one team working on an influencer marketing platform that also work in a similar way, that you can search for an influencer that match like your brand or your business and so on. And we have over like 1 million influencers in the database now.
Nice.
So so it's like really interesting, and that means that you can go in, and then Love is in that ecosystem too. So if you want to promote your product or brand, then you need to first buy Love, so you can give that Love to the influencer. The influencer can decide, okay, I can be paid in fiat currency, or I can be paid in Love, and so on. And then they market, and you get in that too, that Love, and of course with Love. That is a cryptocurrency that grows in price with the network grows. That means that more and more influencers, they of course want to be paid in Love, because
Sure.
Love increase in value, So you get like a positive circle there too with the network growth and so on. So it's many use cases as we see. Of course, like the main thing will be like the micro tipping, and that is also a problem that have not been solved. It's like a huge problem in cryptocurrency to be able to have like a peer-to-peer micro tipping system, and it have not. Bitcoin tried in the beginning, and it was many like YouTubers and so on. They had like the Bitcoin wallet address, and so on. But since Bitcoin, both the name that you basically almost been doing something illegally if you had like a Bitcoin address, And then you also had like the technology difficulties with Bitcoin, that the technology that Satoshi wrote, like 2009, that honestly, it's like spaghetti code. Bitcoin have had, like two major inflation bugs, where basically one
Yes, that's right.
hacker could like make him as many Bitcoins as possible. So these have been a lot of problems. But with Love built on PulseChain, that is proven Ethereum technology, and then just change to proof of stake, which also means that it's good for the environment, that we don't need, like a lot of proof of work
Sure.
Solutions, and so on, that have. I would say
Right.
that it's of course also discussable, because like you can always discuss the environmental aspects of proof of work,
But
and
this is consistent with sustainability. Like the energy
yeah,
consumption using Love via PulseChain is going to be far less than, let's say, a
yeah,
traditional Bitcoin or Ethereum like transaction.
yeah, exactly, and I see it that's one aspect, but the main aspect, as
So
I
Love is good for
see,
the environment. That's
yeah,
the
it's good
that's
for the environment, and
awesome.
so that is of course excellent. I see that the usability and utility, that we actually can have, like 3-second block times. It can cost less than a penny per transaction, less than a cent per transaction, compared to today. Like, oh, if I'm going to send this, will it cost like $17? Oh, no, now it costs $80 in gas. It's
Indeed.
the same that was in the .com, problems. You could make the most fantastic website, but then nothing worked, because it took so long time to even to buy
Indeed.
your product, and but now we will have that, and as I said, this is the best kept secret in the crypto community, and it will open up so many opportunities for everyone, dApps to work, that can actually work, in an efficient way. And many, some people, they think that this is just like another Binance Smart Chain or Polkadot or something like that, and that's not the real the truth, because those blockchains, they like Binance Smart Chain, they just fork like the Ethereum engine, and but what the PulseChain is, it's like a total fork of Ethereum. So that means like the whole ecosystem basically is forked, and copies. Like if the person who owns like Everydays, he can have like exactly the same copy, he can access in PulseChain, so that means that you have that ecosystem already that can gain it, in
Right.
the PulseChain ecosystem. Plus that for all new devs that is working, that have hard to get like usability or a utility in their dApp in Web3, they can easily make that in on PulseChain, and then actually have something that can work, cost less than a penny, and so on. So it's fantastic, and yeah, the testnet is it's up running fine. We are looking at the mainnet will be hopefully in May, I would say. We are not stressing it. As I said, there is a lot of devs working on everything, but we don't stress the launch, because we want it to be perfect. So.
Right.
It's exciting. We are very busy. Like I'm in the US now, and I'm meeting so many, signing on partnerships. We really
Excellent.
tapping into like so many new networks, and it's yeah, amazing.
Right. And, it's going to be projects like yours. And in fact, your project, Love.io, is probably the best example of this. This is what's going to lead to the ultimate success of mass adoption of blockchain. It's going to
Yeah,
be platforms and names that give
yeah,
context to life, so to say. People
yeah,
want to send love. It's universal across languages, whether it's English, Swedish, Mandarin,
yeah,
Chinese,
yeah,
or anything. This is
yeah,
something universally understood and felt, by everybody all
yeah,
over. Certain names and a lot of names of various blockchains and cryptocurrencies, they don't have that blitz scale immediate
no.
intuition, let's say, that love has, sending
Yeah,
love.
yeah, it is. No, it's and back to what we talked about in the beginning of in the stream. Like cryptocurrencies, you can see that. Like in the beginning, like when I discovered Bitcoin, that was maybe like a few thousand people around the world only that was dealing in Bitcoin. And then you had Bitcoin in a few cents because it was like not many people, and then we
Right.
saw during like WikiLeaks, that was like the first time Bitcoin went over $1 because it became, like tens of thousands of more people. They wanted to have Bitcoin because then they could send money to WikiLeaks, and the same
Right.
happened during Silk Road. So you see that correlation, like very, very. So that means that for us, when we are seeing like love, that we have so many different use cases, that so many people around the world can actually use love. And as you said, it goes over borders, networks. Like every day I get like requests from Japan because they one of the only words in English that they know is like love. They have
Sure.
T-shirts, love. Like it's love everywhere. It's like, and they love the idea to have like actually a cryptocurrency with the ticker, the domain, and so on with love, and see that. So it like work in like different languages. It works in different networks. As a cryptocurrency, you have that positive feeling. Uh, it is for me who've been like dreaming about love for years now. I see that the greatest thing for a brand or a company is actually when a customer pay with love for your product or your brand.
Right.
So we see a lot of like Twitter. I think it is Elon who is asking McDonald's when will they accept the huge coin, to
Right. I remember you telling
buy
me
a
this.
Happy Meal, and I'm like tweeting back and I say I think the greatest for McDonald's, if they love their products and their services, is when customers are paying with love, for
That's
their.
right. Everyday love.
Yeah, so it's so much with this name, that actually work, and so we are
Absolutely.
very excited, and as I said, more users. That means a higher price. We have a sacrifice going now for like the community. If someone is interested, they can sacrifice for love. When PulseChain mainnet
I love this.
is launched, we will do a big airdrop to everyone that have sacrificed. So anyone that wants to be part, there is still a lot of love left to be sacrificed for. So
Sure.
yeah,
That's awesome. Now, this is a very ambitious, dynamic, transformative project. And in fact,
yeah,
like I said, the name is perfect. The name
yeah,
is incredible, and it is probably one of the best, if not the best, out there.
yeah,
So, what advice would you give to entrepreneurs who are coming into this space and trying to launch their own projects? Because,
yeah,
starting from getting the domain name, then,
yeah,
essentially deciding what blockchain to use, and then building on top of the blockchain. This is all
yeah,
one big journey, or love story, rather.
yeah,
So, what advice
yeah,
would you give to entrepreneurs who are trying to do something like this? And by the way, trying to do something like you, come
yeah.
up with that blitz scale brand name and product, so to say.
Yeah, it is. And also for me, who have been an entrepreneur since the since I was basically a kid, been doing a lot of things, and there, my advice to like young entrepreneurs is the same, is that it's not easy. You always have to work towards your vision, and so on. And it can be like very difficult at times. And one valuable advice that I took too is that it can be also good to work with existing companies, for a year or a few years, so you
Right.
learn like the basic things. It can be very hard to be like a young entrepreneur that don't have like real work experience in another startup and so on. So that advice I see. And then, keep going. I Even if we have been working with Love.io for a very long time, I have to say that it feels like this is something that everything have got in place. It's almost working on something that everything comes into play, just like you say, when we have gone through like the concept, we've gone through like the technology and so on. So of course that is also something for like young entrepreneurs, that you feel if you are in the zone,
Right.
then all like the good energy also comes to you.
Yeah, it comes into alignment.
So we feel that with Love.io, it has been like a long way to get here, but and we have a long way ahead, and that is so beautiful.
Right. Love takes
To
time,
have
as they
something,
say.
like that you look forward to, and also the problems that it solves, especially in this time where we have had all these big problems in society. We have had so much hate
Yeah.
and divide in the communities and political parties, and we have this terrible event in Ukraine now with
Yes.
people suffering and so on. And I feel that a lot of big problems can be solved. I don't say that everything should be solved with love, but we see that cryptocurrency as a whole, like for example, in Ukraine, when the banks failed, I think it was in 4 or 5 days, it was $40 million in support through Bitcoin, and then even if we have those like technical problems with Bitcoin, that you can't do like micro donations and so on, we see that love, if love would be used, at that time, that meant that people could send $1 and it only cost you like 1 cent, to send $1. Plus that it can be done like peer to peer. If you see like someone on social media, then they can just have like the wallet address, and then love can be like instant peer-to-peer transaction
Right.
to support.
These are all
So
great solutions. And I think, in fact, this will make people, it would probably inspire people to be more generous and be more giving and altruistic, because a lot of times, I think we've all, heard or come across this, but a lot of times people feel like when they donate money, let's say whether it's to charities, they're not
yeah,
sure where it's going, or let's say to influencers, especially when they
yeah,
become big, they're going to completely forget about, let's say, much of their fan base who is, let's say, sending support as far as, money, whether
yeah,
it's fiat or cryptocurrency, so to say.
yeah,
And now with love, so to say, there is a pretty much an eternal, permanent record
yeah,
of everything. So you can see kind of the source. and the
Yeah.
endpoint as far
Yeah.
as the entire life of the transaction. So I can't say that other platforms per se allow
No.
such kind of freedom and transparency, so to say. And like you said, maybe
Yeah.
when it comes to other, let's say, gestures of love, whether it's
Yeah.
maybe a hug or an embrace or something like that, sometimes people do forget very easily.
Yeah, it is, and I see it like so clearly when we are talking about Web 2.0 and Web 3.0, and in Web 2.0, how does the love exist there? That means a lot of like likes and love hearts and so on. And if you see like a picture of a child in Ukraine today on LinkedIn, and that maybe have like 2,000 hearts on LinkedIn because we are in Web 2.0, and that doesn't give any monetary support to that child
Right. It's not
or
tangible
anything, you
for the
know.
most part.
But Web 3.0, we are talking about the Internet of Value. So that means that the same picture could be on LinkedIn, and then there could be like a Love Wallet QR code where you can send peer-to-peer transaction love directly to that person, you know. And that is like the Internet of Value that we actually are talking about today. And that will be a lot of other, of course, applications done and so on. But Web 2.0 means a lot of like fake, I would say, almost like
Right.
love hearts. It doesn't matter if you are putting a love heart. It maybe solves your like conscious
Sure. Yeah. Maybe
you
makes you
know,
feel
like,
a little
oh,
bit
I have
better.
love because I sent like a love heart there. But
Right.
to be able to send like $1 could be, you know, like, because it's like the
Yeah.
mass that makes a difference. You know, if it's 10,000 people that send like 50 cents or $1, that means like
Sure.
that child could actually maybe come out from Ukraine or be fed or whatever, you know. So it is the Web 3.0 will actually give that interaction that we can do like micro tipping and so on. And then, as you just mentioned too, since this is not like a centralized platform that is just like selling services and so on, like we have many today.
Right.
That is also yeah, can do things like holding funds, you know, or other quite evil things, I
Right.
think.
I mean,
But
custody of your funds and information, and
yeah, exactly.
and you're
So
at the mercy of whoever is
yeah,
in
it
control of
is.
that
So
custody.
this is like a peer-to-peer thing, and then what we discussed, since everything is registered on the blockchain, that opens up these things that we said, that this is recorded. So that means that, okay, I can, if people are, I have 10,000 followers, if they will support what I do, here is my love wallet address, and if they have supported me, I do NFTs for every wallet address that is recorded. So that is solving that problem. So people, he would be able to take, you know, donations and so on, and the fans and followers that supported him early, they could today have access when he is in New York and doing a big exhibition of his new arts. Then he can say like,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
right.
you actually supported me on day 3. I got support from you
Right.
when I
And
was on this
right when I was
wallet
an up and
address.
coming struggling artist,
Yeah, you
Yeah.
know, it is to integrate that, like the value exchange, you know, because today likes and love or comments doesn't feed, you know, doesn't um, do anything basically more than showing that you have a lot of followers.
Right. And I think with many jobs in this day and age being subject to automation, for instance, the love economy, the love ecosystem is a parallel secondary economy. So if you are an artist, if you are a live streamer or podcaster, or, by the way, if you want to do any type of e-commerce or
Yeah,
just generously and specifically donate to causes and individuals, and those funds and
yeah,
resources will get there, then this is the perfect tool. This is the perfect avenue,
yeah,
for that as well. I think it allows people to be creative and
yeah,
also earn an income and have some
yeah,
liquidity,
yeah.
in their life.
It is, and then back to what what you asked, like for entrepreneurs and so on, and that is also. I have had meetings with startups in San Francisco, and so on. They are working on new dApps for Web 3.0, and so on. And how I see it is that it's not always to have like their own native token in a dApp. So because their technical solution can be really good, but if they would, for example, integrate love in their dApp, that would mean much higher value for their dApp because love can work in other networks too. So more networks, that means a higher price of love because there is a limited supply of love in the world.
Indeed.
So that is something that I see is really valuable and that I welcome. Is that if you have like a new startup, you have like good solution to solve, then you can integrate because love can be like for brands, for anyone can earn. That is what exists today, but it's not on the blockchain. So with love on the blockchain, that will be something perfect for new startups and so on to use in their applications as well.
Right. And Anders, to your credit too, you know, a lot of cryptocurrencies, I feel, when you read the white paper and then you look at the branding and marketing, cryptocurrencies do represent different values, whether you're comparing Bitcoin or whether you're comparing Ethereum. Ethereum is essentially a convenient, streamlined platform to build dApps. Bitcoin is a reliable store of value. You could say the gold of the
Yeah, yeah,
internet. So if you look at love, I mean, what is a higher value or virtue than love, so to
yeah,
say? So you're essentially, you're building a technology and a culture and a community behind this, and this is to actually
yeah,
help people earn streams of income with what they like, and whether it's in the
yeah,
capacity of an influencer or whether it's even just to help out, other
yeah,
people. This platform, Love, reflects your values. So
yeah,
this is an incredible project, and Anders, like, I am very, very much inspired by this, and
yeah.
I'm very
Thank
much
you,
looking forward to
Adam.
seeing, the summer of love, and when
Yeah,
everything gets on the main net and afterwards too.
yeah. It's and it's also how I see it. I have, of course, been involved in this project from the beginning and so on, and is like a driving force. But that is the beautiful thing of working in Web 3.0 when it's decentralized, and so
Yes.
on. That means that this is like open to everyone, and I'm welcoming as many into our community, and so on. As I say, we have a sacrifice for love going now. So if anyone wants to be early, to sacrifice, to be part of the airdrop, they can do that. They can join in to be, like ambassadors. It can be like startups that feels that they want to have some kind of cryptocurrency in their network. They also welcome to contact me or the team to do that too. Because back to the basics, like a cryptocurrency's value the core value is Metcalfe's law: more networks, more people find a usable, and will be a higher price because it's the limited supply of love in the world.
Right, and this is the pinnacle of blitzscaling. I can certainly see in the future people are going to be using this in their everyday lives and using it in their everyday language. And to just backtrack a little bit, Mark Cuban does have a point. Some of the ultimate success is going to be on whether you can get your grandmother to use it. This will get anybody to use it without a doubt.
It is, and that also, since I is a bit older than you, Adam, and remember, the .com time, and that was that you basically had projects. The more difficult it was to understand or to get users, that was somehow in that age that you valued most.
It was considered more desirable, so to say, the more abstract or complicated, right?
But it is the things that really takes off is that when the user don't need to really understand the technology behind it. And I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Steve Jobs that said that, or it was one of the big famous American entrepreneurs. It is for a technology to really take off is that the user should not it should not be like hard to understand the technology, just how Apple did, for example. It was very easy interface, how to work, to download and to work it, because the problem that we had in like the late 90s and early 2000s was that things became more and more difficult. And so that is also it should, and I think that we are there now when it comes to Web 3.0, blockchain, cryptocurrency, that we actually, the ones that will succeed will be like the simple, easy applications that can actually scale in a different way. So.
Right. Well, I think this is a perfect note to end on. Anders, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing the details and nuances of your project. And I think love.io, or love rather, it really embodies your values, but it also embodies a successful working formula for a brand and, to scale up, a cryptocurrency project and platform, such as this. And, as far as mass adoption, it's going to be projects like yours that are going to make people who otherwise would be cautious or scared or, hesitant to want to join this type of economy, and, interact with more people and, kind of show and demonstrate their love and generosity within their family and with friends and so on and so forth. So, decentralization in this Web3 economy, it is in many ways about making things easier. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing, what Love has in store for this summer. And I'm very excited, and I'm looking forward to having you come back on as well, so we can pick up, from this conversation and see what Love has in store for the rest of the year as well.
Thank you, Adam. It has been a pleasure this Sunday morning here on the West Coast to talk love.
Right.
And we will, be in touch and talk.
Absolutely.
More. Yeah.
Well, it's always a good time to talk love. So this was a great episode with you, Anders. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. And I'll talk to you soon.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.